How would you analyze what you're hearing in response to this murder from the left?
From the left? I mean, just listening to the clips you played from the Trump administration, we're in a very dark moment. It's a very McCarthyite moment right now. I've been listening to your show. You made a lot of good points. The biggest point I think you've glossed over is the crackdown on free speech, this targeting of people for their views. I thought Charlie Kirk was supposed to be a free speech martyr. Why are the right using his death to crack down on free speech and American rights and go after this amorphous left? JD Vance lied today on the Charlie Kirk show when he said the statistics are clear that this is a left-wing problem. It's the exact reverse. Right, exact reverse. You look at the ADL Center for Extremism, which looked at 444 people killed by extremists between 2013 and 2022, 75% of them by the right. You look at the University of Maryland study that was done for their terrorism center, which found that from 1948 to 2018, right-wing extremists more likely to carry out violence than left-wing extremists. You look at the head of the FBI, who Donald Trump appointed, Chris Wray, who said the #1 domestic terror threat in this country comes from religious and racially motivated extremists, specifically white supremacists. You can keep going. The National Institute for Justice found that the majority of incidents since 1990, violent terroristic acts were right-wing extremists. The single biggest day of political violence, Chris, in our lifetimes in this country was January 6th, 2021, when right-wing extremists attacked the Capitol, injured police officers. They were ideologically motivated. You and I agreed it was an insurrection at the time. So it's bizarre for Vance to go on TV or go online and say the exact opposite of what both the official statistics say and the think tanks say. All of our evidence tells us. I mean, there was a Democratic lawmaker, Chris, I don't know how many times we have to say this, who was murdered in our home with her husband in June by a Trump supporter. And Donald Trump today said, who? When he was asked about it, he said, who?
Mm-hmm. So, Mehdi, one quick thing. I do not think January 6th was an insurrection. I thought that it was all kinds of crimes.
You said it at the time, Chris.
I just don't.
You called it an insurrection at the time. You did.
No,
I checked your Twitter before I came on
never
air.
thought.
Okay,
go ahead, show it to me.
Check it afterwards.
I never thought that they were trying to take over the government. That's what an insurrection is. But it doesn't matter. It was bad.
Yeah, Chris Cuomo definitely called it an insurrection, like multiple times. So, hey, what do you know? Another win for Mehdi Hasan. It's almost like he really knows what he's talking about. But history is funny that way, right? Like it tends to become molded by whoever has the biggest mouthpiece, like a presidential administration. But the real problem here, I think, is just ambiguity, right? Like I don't think as a species we're very good at handling ambiguity. It's really way easier to split ambiguity apart and put it into these binary opposites than it is to hold this jumbled mess. It's like, yeah, sure, maybe it was an insurrection, but maybe it wasn't that bad. So it must not have been an insurrection. Or maybe a political commentator gets assassinated, but assassination is violent and I'm not violent. So my political party must not be violent. So it must be the other side that's violent, even if we don't know, or even if the assassin didn't even have political motives. We have to take the event and put it into a box, because when things are outside their box, they're really scary. Lo and behold, we now live in a fantasy land where the radical left and their radical desire for universal healthcare is dangerous, and the right, the self-proclaimed ambassadors of free speech, are, oh my God, they're right behind you. Okay, be chill, be cool, just don't say anything. Watch the video, click like, leave a comment, but after that, you're gonna need to get out of here. They're coming. They're coming. Kamala said not to, and they're going to do it anyway.
There's free speech, and then there's hate speech, and there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people, so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you, if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle.
Hate speech does not exist legally in America. There's ugly speech. There's gross speech. There's evil speech. And all of it is protected by the First Amendment. Charlie Kirk.
The thing that gets to me is every time I listen to a lawyer-trained representative saying we should criminalize free speech in some way, I think to myself, that law school failed.
Yeah, that failure is a failure because a functioning democratic society depends first and foremost on a freedom of speech. You can't do what's best for everyone if you silence anyone. So in this next clip, don't be fooled. Okay, just because this guy looks like Donald Trump and sounds like Donald Trump, all right? Because I'm pretty sure this is actually your blue-haired social justice warrior, nose-pierced cousin yelling at your Southern Republican conservative uncle at Thanksgiving. He just switches some of the words around. Honestly, it's sad how woke this president has become, you know, but I guess wokeness comes for everybody. Well, not everybody, of course. It depends on your lived experience.
And what do you make Pam Bondi saying she's going to go after hate speech? Is that, I mean, a lot of your allies say hate speech is free speech.
She'll probably go after people like you because you treat me so unfairly. It's hate. You have a lot of hate in your heart. Maybe they'll come after ABC. Well, ABC paid me $16 million recently for a form of hate speech, right? Your company paid me $16 million for a form of hate speech. So maybe they'll have to go after you. Look, we want everything to be fair. It hasn't been fair. And the radical left has done tremendous damage to the country, but we're fixing it.
Hey, what do you think about that thing Pam Bondi said? I'm going to arrest you. I mean, it's incredible stuff. And once again, way to go to the Trump supporters. Like, you did it. You made America great again. McCarthyism is back on the menu, boys. But this is all probably just liberal hysteria, right? Probably being totally blown out of proportion. Like, what's the worst thing that could happen? Like, okay, what, the United States is going to finance a genocide and then persecute its own citizens for practicing their First Amendment. Oh, there's that depression. Whoa, you know, it hits you like a wave. Wow. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Okay, here's a clip.
You can see they're professional agitators. I had one the other night. I had 4 the other night, all in one group, total phonies. I started to scream when I got into a restaurant, oh, you know, something with Palestine. And I said, well, I'm doing a great job for peace in the Middle East. I should get lots of awards for that, right? With the Abraham Accords and everything else. But a woman just stood up and started screaming. And she got booed out of the place, too. The people, there were a lot of people in the restaurant. I went there to show how safe, and it was safe. I mean, the woman is just a mouthpiece. All she was a paid agitator. And you have a lot of them. And I've asked Pam to look into that in terms of RICO, bringing RICO cases against it, criminal RICO, because they should be put in jail. What they're doing to this country is really subversive.
I mean, in fairness to Trump, he probably was a bit scared when all of a sudden he was surrounded by a group of 4 or 5 women who were all over the age of 18. Like, I just don't think that's something he's really used to. You know, whatever happened with that whole Epstein thing? Remember that? Weren't we just talking about that? It's wild. You know, if I was a part of the Trump administration, what I would do is I would hope for some kind of an event that I could capitalize on and use to paint my political opponents in just the most cartoonishly evil light possible. And I would ramp up the rhetoric so much that even if people didn't take it seriously, they would still be so distracted by it that they wouldn't ask about Epstein. But whatever, you know, I'm not in the Trump administration because I'm not a vampire. DEI strikes again, I guess. Sad. Here's a clip from Nosferatu.
Party does not fight for, care about, or represent American citizens. It is an entity devoted exclusively to the defense of hardened criminals, gangbangers, and illegal alien killers and terrorists.
Totally. Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, dude. Yeah, no, yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, it's with the Democrat. Yeah, I've never met a Democrat who wasn't like, I love terrorism. You know, it's all they talk about. They're like, get us more terrorism. Where is the terrorism? It's crazy. So I think now Miller's rhetoric here is obviously so over the top that it's hard to take seriously, but maybe that's kind of a function of propaganda. Like, if the message behind the propaganda is to not ask questions about things like Epstein or the economy or genocide, then both crazy rhetoric like Miller's and calm, tempered down rhetoric serves the same function, which is to distract. So we've seen bad cop Miller. Now we're going to see good cop Langford to bring us home, to remind us that we're all super chill and we just need to calm down and tone down the rhetoric, because as long as you're talking about that, you're not asking questions.
Just to follow up on what Stephen Miller is suggesting here, he said, quote, the Democratic Party is not a political party, it's a domestic extremist organization.
Well, they have a very different view than I do. I'm a conservative Republican. I have Democratic friends that think very differently, vote very differently, but they're still my friend on it. So just having that ideology, just believing differently than some other American is not illegal. That's America.
The death of Charlie Kirk was a horrific tragedy. And when tragedies happen, we might seek answers to make sense of the tragedy, or we might get online and engage in like super dark nihilistic humor as a way of processing it. Or maybe we just engage in dark nihilistic humor because we didn't actually see the footage, and we're also trying to protect ourselves from the emotional impact of such an event. Point being, the death of Charlie Kirk, and I use this term here in its like true psychological sense, it triggered us. Like it just did. Right. I mean, I think it did. It unleashed all of the defense mechanisms, all of the tribalism. It confronted us with mortality. It blurred the lines between our digital lives and whatever life it is that we see when we look up from our screens. The problem is that in abusive relationships, when someone is triggered, sometimes they can be manipulated or they can be gaslit. And in some situations, they can even be punished for acting out. So as I see it, the Trump administration is just abusive, not just to the American public or to other countries for that matter, but like the American psyche. And I mean that in like psyche in its original Greek sense, as in soul. But it's also abusive to the memory of Charlie Kirk, who for all his faults, and there are many, many of them, all right, go somewhere else for that, for all his faults, I don't think he would have wanted to see the First Amendment trampled upon, especially not in his name, which leads me to one conclusion. There's something going on in those Epstein files. You know, I mean, the Trump administration would rather spit on the grave of one of their most devoted, loyal, largest mouthpieces, one of their best disciples, than have to actually answer questions about Epstein or the economy or a genocide. So, you know, I think that might be what's going on here. I think that this might be a lot of distraction. And it's also them really just becoming cartoonishly absurd, and they're kind of losing their touch a little. Oh, wait. Oh, they're here for me. Yeah, sorry. Pam Bondi's here. She said that I said something bad. I have to go to prison now. Oh, you're not even here. You were already taken too. Okay, I'm talking to an empty room. Is there a dog or a cat that's still in the room? I hope they enjoyed the video. If you can hear me ask for a lawyer, don't say anything. All right. I got to go. I got to go get arrested. You know, I didn't have it on my agenda, but I'm not, surprised. Anyway, bye, guys. Very inconvenient.